Okay, we continue with Mulefes Sappirim. We're up to Yom Revi'i, uh, entry Dalid. Uh, the mitzvah Tzil Sidayim B'kumu B'boker for the mitzvah of Tzil Sidayim. Now, right now, he transitioned. Oh, that's a bad word in this day and age. He changed over to just talking about mitzvahs in general. So it's going to be now Likutei Zor, which we need so badly. So Likutei Zor on various mitzvahs. So in Mitzvah Sidayim Kum V'Boker for now, the mitzvah of washing Nego Vaser as soon as you get up in the morning. Because the Bereshis Daf Kuf Pei out on base, so the Zar and Bereshis on Daf Kuf Pei out on base writes, you don't have a person in the whole world that has not tasted the taste of death at night. And that is ki kishodam yashe, when a person sleeps, take of the neshama yotza v'shal guf rachtava, so the neshama partially departs, like the connection between the neshama and body is loosened, and in that gap comes in a ruach tuma. Now, when a person gets back and wakes up, yotza guf rachtava, so now all those, so the neshama that got loosened from the body, goes back in and closes the gap and squeezes out some of the ruach tumah that got in, but not totally. There's remnants that stay on the hands. And when a person washes nego vaser, the tumah that lingers on the hands only leaves those hands also. And you must not touch your eyes prior to washing nego vaser. Ein Sham, Visa, Tara, so now also you need 2 kalim. This is going before the day and age when they had sinks, okay? So you're not meaning, you should not wash the Tzil Sidayim into the ground. That's what it means to say, which we don't do. We wash it into a sink, even though the sink is mechuber l'karka, but hopefully, I hope and pray that qualifies for what the Zohar wants. Right, but there should be two vessels, so you don't wash directly into the ground, as we just read. And I do believe that's also the halacha in Shulchan Aruch. I do believe, but I can't say. I have not checked this, but you're not supposed to wash directly into the ground. I think it's all by all cases, even by my machram also. My machram definitely that's halacha. You wash into a kli and not into the ground. So because it's an issue of removing tumah. You need 2 kalim, the one above, which is sprinkling the water, pouring the water, and the one below, and that's beside visa Torah al tameh. He who is tahor shall sprinkle upon he who is tameh. Okay, that's the kli below. Represents the tahor on top, tameh on the bottom. Okay. Okay, so we're now in Sif. Hey, the mitzvah tzitzis. Now for the mitzvah of tzitzis. Kasav b'sefer daf shin amid beis. Simin dalid. Shem of Royce over there. It's Zor daf shin amid beis and Zor chelik shlishi. So Simin dalid. I didn't look up what that refers to over there. So it's in the name of Rav No Royce. Sod gadol amar. He said it right. He says a great secret over there. All right, ki betzitzis kosel l'dorosam. So tzitzis al kadvei l'dorosam v'nasnu al tzitzis. He said tzitzis is for all generations. Ubeshak l'dorosam chaser vav, and also in Shabbos it's also written l'dorosam, right? And Shabbos at least it's written without a vav. They create l'dirosam lashon dira. It's a that Shabbos is not just something that you keep for all generations. Shabbos is like a place to be. Shabbos is not just a time, but it's a place. Remember, kividas aram yesh paraki bediras aram yesh parshas kriyashma b'mezuzah aval parshas tzitzis lo yesh. Right. So now because now listen, so dorosam. So for Shabbos is a place. So now also, Shabbos is, that's a secret, by the way, that on Shabbos, this is a whole psalm, Rishus Rishus. We all should stay in Rishus HaYochid, which is Rishus Yechido Shel Olam. Like it's brought down in the Ari, that the dimensions of Rishus HaYochid are 4 by 10. Dalit Amos by Dalit Amos by 10 Amos, you know, no, I'm sorry, not Amos, Tfachim. I knew that. Right, so it's 4 by 4 by 10, 4 Tfachim by 4 Tfachim by 10 Tfachim. The 4 by 4 is the Yud K Vav K, and the 10 Tfachim height, 10 Tfachim, not Amos, 10 Tfachim is the 10 letters when you want to spell it, Yud K Vav K, Yud Vav Dalet, Hey Aleph, Vav Aleph Vav, Hey Aleph, 10 Oisius. Right, so Shabbos is a place. Right, and of course, and that's Amiso should, we don't just keep Shabbos, we live in Shabbos, right? And also the Jewish home should represent that, right? During all the days of the week. So now on, in a Dirasam Yesh Pashas Krishma Mezuzah, now we know in the home that you live in, we have Kriya Shema, which alludes to all the Taryag mitzvahs, Kayadua, and alludes to the Aseres, at least alludes to the Aseres Hadibros, I do believe, to the point that they were thinking about instituting Aseres Hadibros in Kriya Shema, but they didn't, but we don't have to. There's, it alludes, so Kriya Shema represents Kol Torah Kul, but that's if you have all three parshas. We don't have. In Mezuzah, you only have Shema and Vayim Shemoah. Now, parsha Lo Yesh, you don't have the parsha of Tzitzis in the mezuzah, so you're missing the whole power of Shema, on your Jewish home. Abaman Ishlam, so Sokhtazars, how do you supplement for the fact that parsha Tzitzis is not in the mezuzah? A man has to wear tzitzis. A man goes out wearing tzitzis, as well as zaz mimeno, and that deflects the malach hamavis. Now, when you now have the, you have the mezuzah plus tzitzis, but the two complement each other and have you have the koach of, shem shamayim on you, and the malach hamavis now moves from you. Shneimar mezuzos no trikun zaz maves. And indeed, when you say al mezuzos, right? So it's it could be broken up into zaz maves, right? Zaz maves. The death moves away. I'm Rabbi Nai. All right, so it said Rabbi Narai made an eye show my words. I testify by. I take as my witnesses the heaven and earth. Kimi shows besides anyone who leaves the entrance of the house wearing tzitzis vitfilin, right, with tzitzis is done with love. The Shechina is upon him. So so ideally, back in the good old days, people used to wear tefillin, throughout the day. So you have to leave that, So you leave the door of the house. You have the mezuzah and you have tzitzis and tefillin. Shechina is down. The Shechina is with him. And they escort him. And your two guardian angels that are to escort you, bless you. And the bad angel that would want to speak bad of you has to answer amen to how they bless you against his will. Similar to Shabbos. When they see, I guess it's also another common with Shabbos that the angels come. And they see how, so we say, Shalom Shores, and, the Malachim come, they escort you home. And when they see everything, nicely set up, they bless you. And the Malach Ra is Ona Omein Bar Kocho, I guess another common denominator between Tzitzis and Shabbos. Right? So now, Ob B'Sefer, Bamid, Daf Kufrain Hey, Amarav, Bein Tzitzis, and another Zayarm, and Bamidbar, Zar Chel Gimel Kufayin Hey Omadav, also regarding tzitzis. We have there are many garments that are set up ready for a person in Olam Haba, right? Right. So now we mentioned this. We had Zohars, and he had quoted for us Zohars earlier that deal with this idea, and we explained that the neshama before ever having been born and never having done mitzvahs, never had the opportunity to do mitzvahs. So that neshama is called naked, right? And it's embarrassed. It can't face the Shechina. It can't go into certain chambers in heaven. It's naked. The mitzvahs give it like spiritual garments. Now it's not embarrassed anymore. Now it could face the Shekhinah. Now it could go and stuff like that. And that's what the mitzvahs, adorn the neshama with spiritual garments. Mitzvahs done, adorn the neshama with spiritual garments, aside from other things that mitzvahs do. But that's what mitzvahs do for the individual. There's how mitzvahs also create your real estate in Olam Haba, right? Mitzvahs do a few, but what it does for the individual is, the neshama now, which was previously naked, is now adorned, with the mitzvahs they did, right? So now, as we have so many garments, really parallel to all the Taryag mitzvahs that are ready for you in Olam Haba. Mabush acher shemakabo duma v'tov sola gehenna. Right? But a person that but Keneged being mavatal, a mitzvah of tzitzis, which is a mitzvah with a garment, that on the penalty of being of not wearing tzitzis, right? And it seems as though saying it's not just mavatal, but just not having been makayim tzitzis, right? So the penalty for not being makayim tzitzis is that, you didn't put on the garment I want you to put on. Okay, so you lose all your garments. So all the garments built up by your mitzvahs, you lose them. That's the penalty for not being Makayim mitzvah tzitzis. That's alluded to what I will say when we, in those who wear a talis, we have the tefillah beforehand, and then just like I put on talis, I'll also be misativ b'chaluka d'rabbanan l'olam haba. The chaluka d'rabbanan, the garments of the rabban that you wear in the lamba. These are the garments built up of tzitzis. So just not being Makayim tzitzis. It could cause you to lose all those garments that your mitzvahs build up, and now they just take away. You're not just left naked, but it's worse. You get like prison clothes. When our old friend Duma that I think we met him in the Reishis Chachma, or was it yesterday in Mulefes Sappirim, Duma, the gatekeeper of Gehenna, recognized you're wearing like prison. You're wearing the orange jumpsuit. So it's not just you're naked. They put on the orange jumpsuit, as it were. Prison garb that Duma recognizes, you're a convict, and he pulls you to Gehenna. The Zohar writes that this is what Yishayahu Hanavi alluded to. Bogdim bogdu ubeged bogdim bogdu. The traders, they did their trading, and right. Right, and there's the garment of the those who traded, the traitorous traders, but the root of the word is beged, bagad, same thing, there's special garb for those who are traitors, to match their treachery. That's also, by the very first sin that we did, was our first act of being traitors to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The immediate consequence, we had to put on clothes. Didn't have to wear clothes beforehand. But so it's bogdim, bogdu, bugid, bogdim, bogdu. Right? Okay. So when you're a traitor, you get garments to match your being a traitor. And so being vatal mitzvah of tzitzis, not just not being makayim the mitzvah of tzitzis, let alone that you put on a without tzitzis, you just didn't put on tzitzis at all, right? So the treachery gives you don't just lose all the other malbushim, the chaluka d'rabban, your mitzvahs built up for you, but you also get your prison garb that makes you easily identifiable to Duma, that takes you down to Gehenna. Amar Kikol Omer Kreshma below to Tefillin, and then Zohar goes on to say, anyone who says Krishna without Talmud, in our Gemara it just says Tefillin, but the Zohar adds Talis and Tefillin. Who boged, you're a traitor. Shemei Eidus Sheker, because you're giving false testimony you don't really believe. Go and roll atzmo, and you cause bad harm to yourself. Then you're going to be put, be forced to wear in that world a garment of traitors. So begad bogdim. You're going to have the begad of bogdim, and that's how the mekachkim, the prosecutors, easily recognize you and single you out and also schlep you. So, from this Zohar, it says again. I know Bachrim don't wear talesim in most Ashkenazi communities, but I guess this is a good source that say Kriya Shema, put on tzitzis also, and make sure you're wearing tzitzis in addition to your tefillin. It helps attest. It shows that you are sincere about what you're testifying to about Hashem being the one and only King. Okay, Sif Zion, the mitzvahs Kriya Shema, or regarding the mitzvah Kriya Shema, Kosovo say for Dvarim, Dafkuf Pei Amid Aleph. So in Zohar, which is also the Sefer Dvarim, which Dvarim is also in Zohar Chel Gimel, Kuf Pei Vav Amid Aleph. Kachla Mandu, Kol Mishen according to one say Yehei bin Nidui, Kol Hayom Ahu. Anyone who does not read Kriya Shema Bismana, anyone who doesn't read Kriya Shema Bismana is in Cherem in the eyes of heaven that whole day. Okay. Oh boy, that's a big chizuk. Don't miss Sosman Kriya Shema. If you miss Sosman Kriya Shema, you are in Cherem in the eyes of heaven that whole day. Okay, so let's make a kabbalah to be serious about Kriya Shema. That's you should try, believe that or believe that. Try to be makbar on the Magen Avram's man. Okay. All right. So now, Oisches, the mitzvah is chuppah. It's the mitzvah of chuppah. Kasav b'sefer Bereshis daf mem tes amarav. So in Zohar Bereshis, which is Zohar Chelkav daf mem tes amarav, the pasuk Vel Adam Hakadosh Baruch Hu brought Chava. She was going to be called Chava. Brought at that time she was just called Isha. So he brought her to the Adam. Ramaz zivik shitzrichim avia kala v'ima lachis b'al. So there's a remez, that by zivuk, chuppah is also a mitzvah. It's not, it's also its own madrega, a phase of the marriage process. There's kiddushin and there's nisuin, and chuppah is a mitzvah, right? It may not be a separate mitzvah in the list of the Ramach mitzvahs say, but still, it's not a formality. It's a real madrega that just like Hashem brought Chava, to Adam, brought it to the chuppah. It's also, for the zivug that that Avia Kal Vima, the father of the bride and mother have to take her into the domain of the husband. Kvodat Amar, and it's what also the pasuk says by Motzi Shema is Biti Nasati. I gave my daughter to him. So it's not just talking that you might think the pasuk about that he married her off when she's a katana. No. It could even be the pasuk applies even if the girl was a bogeres, that now the father can't receive Kiddushin on her behalf, still as Biti Nasati, in the sense that you could still bring her to the chuppah. Zer Ramaz Ve'elen Sham Va'ivka B'Mokah Kama Sheifais Kodem She'ivo V'Zel Va'ivka Kodem V'Hoda Va'elen Sham. And the Zohar goes on to say, zivuk is also our zivuk, man and wife, and this also it says in the Talmud Dvar, but it's all based on the Zohar. That a person's zivuk, his dvekus in his wife, is a remez to his being davik in the Shechina. And we know, so, where's the Shechina? In the Harabais. So it says, Vayif Kavang, he reached a place, and then Vayolan Sham, and then he slept there. So Vayivka, as we know, that's the source that Yaakov was mitake in Tfilas Arvis. Vayivka is a loshon of tachanunim, of bakosha, to ask, to beg, like more Leval Tifkabi. So it goes to be referring that Vivka Makom, so he was speaking nicely to God, begging God, and then he slept there, and that's his zivuk with the Shechina. Okay. All right, next Ois Tes Okasav Remez Acher Rajol Kibashem Shoslo Sham Shpayom, and also another remez that man is to the to the Shechina, also like man is to his wife, or man is to his wife like man is to the Shechina, and ergo, therefore he slept there because the sun went down. Shoslo Sham Shpayom, it's a source that the Bia is usher during the day. Okay, Yud. So in the Zohar and Shmos, that's Zohar Chelak Beis, Kofainu and Beis. Masha Amru, the God regarding what it says, Kosher Zvugan Kriyas Yamsuf. What does it mean? So the Zohar gives its own shot. It must have been a much more ancient saying of Chazal that predated the Zohar. That Kosher Zvugan Shal Kriyas on it. Put be a couple stairs difficult like Kriyas Yamsuf. Why? So why is that? So what's the connection? So the Zohar says its own shot in this. It's like a lot of speculation on what that Chazal means. So many pshat. The Zohar has its own pshat. I think the Zohar has more than one pshat, by the way, if I recall correctly. But let's see what the Zohar here that he's quoting says. Shakavanu loymar, the intent is to say, Makriyas Yamsu loya ella shemesa mitzvim bayam v'yitzol yisrael because of Neh Hashem Yisbarach Sharei Sharo Shemitzayim Mekachel of the Azor V'Azor V'Moy Schus Avram Lo Nitzolu. Right. So it was very difficult at Kriyas Yamsuf. It was Midas Din was obviously active because you see the Mitzrayim got retribution. Midas Din was active. So the so the Sar of Mitzrayim, the administrators said, okay, justice, equal justice for all under the law. There used to be a time like that. Not. It's interesting. We're reading about stone this week's parsha. It's comes up for the first time and comes up for the final time in next week's parsha. And stone was infamous for its weaponized justice system. It had justice, but it was weaponized. Like today. Okay, but God's justice is indeed supposed to be equal justice under the law. So the Midas Din, so based on if it wouldn't have been a Zman of Din, but it was a Zman of Din. But you see the Mitzrayim were getting punished. So the Sar of Mitzrayim is asking for equal justice on the law of the Avodah Zarah, law of the Avodah Zarah. There shouldn't be a two-tier justice system, right? Should not be, right? So now, and again, so what's the answer to that? Not that there's a two-tier justice, but, we had the Schus of Avram. If not for the Schus of Avram, we would have not been saved. Rebbe would have had to respond to that kitrug of equal justice under the law. And equal justice under the law means if I love the Azar, I love the Azar. But if not for the Schus of Avram, we have not been saved. It says, the sea went back at daybreak to its original strength. The Ksiv Hasabro says, masculine Ason, success for Ason. Ason, we Chazal Darshan was Avram Avinu. So the first Boker Ason went back at morning to its original strength. Also masculine Ason. Ason's Avram Avinu. So the water drowned the Mitzrim and spared Am Yisrael in the schus of Avram Avinu. Also, if no spoker is the time of Chesed, which is the time of Avram Avinu, Vayashkem Avram Baboker. All right. So kach, so also hazivugin, right? So also zivugin, it's a little bit, because let me by zivugin, listen, if a guy gets the girl, so one guy's gain is the other guy's loss. One guy's gain is the other guy's loss, and one guy, I'm speculating, but I don't think I'm too far off. All right, I think it's very loose speculation. Is what it's saying over here is that one guy's gain is another guy's loss, and the guy who didn't get the girl has a title. What's he got that I don't got? This could be a very serious kitrug, and it's difficult that Rebbe Shalom, and somehow in the depth of it, it's still just, but it's only in the very deep depth of it that it's just that this guy got the girl, this other guy didn't. Now regarding this Zivuk Sheni, if this woman was previously married, and now this is her second time around, it's indeed written, but over there it's more apparent that it's Bakol Sharos, that Chazal themselves darshan, and not just in the Zohar, but elsewhere also, that Motzi Moshe V'chidim Beisa is possibly literally about Yitzias Mitzrayim. But Chazal Darshan Zivur, that Kosh puts the single people in the house. Motzi Asirim, he takes the ones who are out, or captive out. But Kosharos, with literally, I think it literally means with like cables, and this referring to the woman who's being liberated from her former marriage. So it's bit Kosharos, that should be read Bechi Shiros. Bechi Shiros. So the Medrash, I think it's in Parshas. It's in Parshas Tos or Parshas Vayetze. But Tos Vayetze says, yeah, listen, you got to get married to this woman, whether you like it or not. You just have the choice whether to be Bechi or Shiros. But as far as a different shot, why it's Bekoshos means Bechi Shiros. Seems that there's a ancient Masorah that Bekoshos should be Darshan Bechi Shiros. The Medrash's approach is this woman is your Zivik Min HaShamayim, and your only Bechir whether you're going to be crying about it or singing about it. That's your Bechir, but you're going to be married to her. Zohar has a different shot. Right? That regarding Zivuk Sheni, it is clearly Bechi V'Shiros Mesaram Echad V'Nasaram Acher. They're crying over the guy who died if she's an almana. So it's crying for the guy that died, singing for the guy that got her. And it seems even by Zivik Rishon, there's a little bit of that, that a guy has, So by Zivik Sheni for sure, this guy had to be knocked off for this other guy to get her. And there are Zohars to that effect, actually. I'm aware of very frightening Zohars that, you have to really hope that you remain worthy of being your wife's husband if you like her, right, and you want to stay married to her. Because if some guy's waiting in the wings, because for some reason there's some spiritual connection between the two, you could be knocked off for him to get his chance with her. So got to be really daven that you should not be nidche b'fnei adam acher. So by the second zivug, that's very clear. One guy, they're crying for one guy, and they're singing for the other guy who got the girl after, who remarries the widow. But you understand also that that was just lo dibra azar el baheve. If there was a divorce, also, unless it was clearly the right thing, So Mizbech Morid the most. There's crying, and when there's the second chasna where they're singing, and there could be an element of that even by Zivug Rishon, because other people may have had, acclaim, and it's difficult. Right, Bershom has to go into it's because not readily apparent. Of course, everything that Bershom does is just, but sometimes you got to dig deep to justify the move. The Rebbe had to dig to the schus of Avraham Avinu to justify saving Am Yisrael by Kriyas Yamsuf. Had to dig deep, and also over here when in the side of Zivugim, why this guy got her and this guy not. Sometimes Rebbe has to dig really deep. That's what's kosher. Dig really deep to find the justification of that should all be bedin, and and not being over al shura sadin. Okay, sorry, I was an Elter Bacher, so I spoke about this at length because this was often on my mind back in the good old days, as it were. 6.5 years in Shidduchim. All right. Okay. Zif Yud Aleph. Because Sefer Yikra Daf Pei Alpha Mid Aleph steht in Vayikra, Zorchel Gimel Pei Alpha Mid Aleph. Mishal Kash Atzot Tashbish. Someone who wants to sanctify himself in his intercourse, doesn't want to do it like an animal. He wants to do it like like a human being, like a Tzalm Elokim. That he should not. It shouldn't come at the expense of sanctifying himself, but even not come at the expense of sanctifying, and to turn it around. That it should be something that a real Tzalm Elokim should do. Don't do your intercourse except from midnight onwards, right? Have to. I'm not sure what this is between Chetziola and Chatzosa. Dosha Kosh Baruch Hu Nimtza Beganem is Arz Kedusha Yona Zel B'chol Adam, right? Right. So now, because as we learned, I think we learned it here, and it's throughout Zohar. Chatzosa Eis Ratzon and Riboshon goes into Gan Eden to play and talk and learning with the tzaddikim. Tremendous, shefa and Eis Ratzon, and that spiritually will pull over on the man having intercourse. But that's B'chol Adam. This is about a simpleton, person, knows? That's how a simpleton, could integrate some holiness into his life. Right? Right, but a Talmud Chacham, he shouldn't be doing Bia at Chatzos. He should be getting up to learn Torah. So this is like a regular guy. All the nights that he's with his wife should be from Chatzos onwards. Right, but the Talmud Chacham, I guess if he's ever with his wife during the week, it should be at this hour. But as a rule, Chatzos is the time he should be getting up to learn, and we've had zors to that effect earlier in this sefer. Okay, we will stop here for today.